What does it mean for an NFL team to get lucky? As we discussed in our video introducing the subject, link in the description below, it essentially boils down to how many games a team wins as opposed to how many games they ought to have won based on their performance in a variety of fields. Among them are Pythagorean expectation, how they fare in one-score games, and their strength of schedule. But the more actual wins they have than their expected wins, the luckier they are. Thus, we have determined the 25 luckiest single-season teams of the Super Bowl era, and we are ready to present those teams to you now. Thank you for joining us today. Sit back and enjoy as we call these teams out for ending up in a much better place than they should have. Starting things off at number 25 are the 1977 Minnesota Vikings. In the last NFL season, where the league played a 14-game schedule, the Vikings went 9-5 with a barely positive point differential. They were still able to win the weak NFC Central to earn a playoff spot, then went on the road to pull off an upset. That gave them 10 wins for the entire season, but with their expected wins sitting at 6.463, that lands them a luck score of 3.537. That upset took place at the 10-4 Los Angeles Rams in a game now known as the Mud Bowl. The Vikings played one of the easiest schedules in the league in 1977 and only had middle-of-the-road finishes in both points scored and points allowed. They split their 6 regular season games that were decided by multiple possessions, but went 6-2 in their one-score games, not including that 14-7 win in the playoffs. Their season ended in Dallas, losing the NFC title game to the Cowboys 23-6. Up next at number 24, we have the 2015 Carolina Panthers. Carolina had a stellar season, putting together a 15-1 record and handily winning the NFC South. They got it done in the playoffs as well, making it to Super Bowl 50 before they fell to the Denver Broncos. That gave them 17 wins on the season, well more than their expected win total of 13.447, giving them a luck score of 3.553. There's no question this was an excellent team, but this list is not immune to having excellent teams on it. They were the first NFC team to ever start a season 14-0, and they remain to this day the last team, period, to only lose one regular season game. These are fine accolades that simply don't fit the profile. Their one regular season loss was by single digits, but what hurt this team, relatively speaking, was its weak schedule. A great team, a playoff team regardless, but not quite at these lofty heights. Number 23 is occupied by the 2017 Buffalo Bills. They may have had a winning record at 9-7, but they were outscored on the season by 57 points. Yet, thanks to a Week 17 win by the Cincinnati Bengals over the Baltimore Ravens in dramatic fashion, the Bills were able to snag the AFC's final wildcard spot. They didn't win once they got there, leaving them with those 9 wins, well above their expected total of 5.44, giving them a luck score of 3.56. Bills fans will not apologize for this season, nor should they, as it broke an 18-year playoff drought. But the numbers are what they are. They didn't play a horrifically weak schedule, but it was easier than most in the league. They finished in the bottom half of the league in both points scored and points allowed, finding their way through thanks to a 6-2 record in one-score games. The Saxonville defense proved too much in the playoffs though, ending Buffalo's 2017 dream. Taking spot number 22 are the 2016 Houston Texans. In that season, 9-7 with a negative point differential was well good enough to win the AFC South, sneaking by on a tiebreaker with the Tennessee Titans. That gave them home field in the wild card round, giving them the chance to drive their win total all the way to 10. That doesn't nearly line up with their expectation of 6.346, leaving the 2016 Texans with a luck score of 3.654. Houston actually played a reasonably tough schedule, finishing in the top half of the league in that category, but the offense was ugly, landing near the bottom in points scored, and they pulled some rabbits out of some hats, going 8-4 in single possession games, and only once winning a regular season game by more than 8 points. Speaking of ugly, that's what we got in their playoff game with the Raiders, but they were able to win that one before playing the role of the red carpet the following week to the New England Patriots. It's the 2021 Pittsburgh Steelers, and they reside in spot 21. The first NFL season with 17 regular season games saw the Steelers land yet another non-losing record alongside a minus 55 point differential, but they still grabbed the AFC's 7th and final seed in the playoffs. The tie gives them half a win, giving them 9.5 on the season after their playoff one and done. Against 5.833 expected wins, their luck score is 3.667. While Pittsburgh played a harder than average schedule, their number 4 ranking is a bit deceptive and would have ranked much lower in a lot of other seasons. Like the 2016 Texans, they were also deft in the one-score department, going 8-2 in their non-tied games, with their largest win of the season being 12 points at home against the Browns. Their time in the playoffs was blink and you miss it, at one point allowing 35 consecutive points in a 42-21 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. We begin the top 20 with the 2005 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 seasons of stumbles after their Super Bowl triumph led to this 11-5 season and a scantly positive point differential. That was good enough for an NFC South Division title and the number 3 seed in the playoffs. They couldn't win once they got there though, holding to 11 wins against their expected total of 7.327, giving them a luck score of 3.673. The Bucs weren't overtly magical in their one-score games, going 6-3 while managing a good 5-2 record in multiple possession contests. For them, it was their schedule, the second easiest in the league, and more specifically their performance against that schedule. While they slipped out a plus 26 point differential, the team with the easiest schedule, the Panthers, landed a plus 132. One of the most average teams in NFL history, Tampa hosted the Washington Redskins in the playoffs, but fell 17-10. It might be a little recency bias, but I believe many would expect to see this team rank even higher than this. Regardless, the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs do make it here at number 19. At 15-2, they won their 96th consecutive AFC West title to earn the one and only bye in the AFC playoffs. They made it to the Super Bowl, but we all know what happened to them there. Those playoff victories gave them 17 on the year, well above their expected total of 13.275. Their luck score is 3.725. 10-0. That was the Chiefs' record in one-score games, made all the more theatrical by the manner in which some of those games were won. This is reflected by their plus 59 point differential, a rather grisly number for a team 13 games above 500. They did play a top 10 schedule, and kudos to them for that, and they were a very good football team. But losing the Super Bowl and the manner in which they lost it left many believing they were a mirage all along. We have our second team from 2017 in the countdown, with the Tennessee Titans laying claim to the 18th spot. A winning record at 9-7 is nice and all, but they were outscored on the year and hold bottom half of the league numbers across the board here. They did manage a wildcard berth and a playoff win, giving them 10 total on the year. Their expected wins were a lowly 6.228 though, giving them a luck score of 3.772. They weren't just bottom half in strength of schedule though, they were third from the bottom. Their 6-4 record in one-score games wasn't anything too out of the ordinary, but their playoff win certainly was, where they created a mini miracle during a second-half comeback that involved their quarterback throwing a touchdown pass to himself. That was a playoff first in NFL history and remains a playoff only. They enjoyed that for a moment before they took their turn in the role of red carpet for the New England Patriots. Maybe not the Seattle Seahawks team you were expecting. It's the 2004 squad who takes the 17th spot. In the beginning of a very bad turn for the NFC West, the 9-7 Hawks were able to win their first ever NFC West title, alongside a negative point differential and the easiest schedule in the league. They didn't win any once they got there, with their 9 victories positively dwarfing their expected win total of 5.227. That leaves them with a luck score of 3.773. Making things even worse, they lost to the team they beat out for the NFC worst, the 8-8 St. Louis Rams, who weren't too far away from making this list themselves. That made them 0-3 against the Rams on the year. Outside of 2 annihilations against the putrid 49ers, Seattle won one other game by double digits while going 6-3 in one-possession games. And while they could put up some points, Mike Holmgren was their head coach after all, they struggled to stop points from being scored, giving up nearly 28 per game after their Week 4 bye. Here's the Seattle Seahawks team you probably expected to see. Taking spot number 16 is the infamous 2010 team, easily the Super Bowl era's worst playoff team. They set a new low by winning a division championship with a losing record, but then they beast-quaked the defending Super Bowl champions and actually won a playoff game. That did give them 8 wins, but against their expected 4.15 wins, their luck score is 3.85. These guys were outscored by 97 points on the season. They played the league's 3rd easiest schedule. They played in the worst division of the entire Super Bowl era. They lost 9 multiple possession games against 0 losses by a single possession. But home field advantage and Marshawn Lynch still added up to a playoff victory. We make fun, but this is really a fascinating team. They tried their hand in Chicago during the divisional round, losing to the Bears, ending their dream and our nightmare. Another less than stellar division champion here, taking our number 15 spot are the 2011 Denver Broncos. Apparently inspired by Seattle the season before, Denver didn't bother landing a winning record, but were nonetheless crowned AFC West champions before winning their own playoff game against the defending AFC champions. Their luck score is actually identical to the Seahawks at 3.85. But because they ended with an extra win, we deemed them the luckier and gave them this lofty ranking. These guys were outscored by 81 points on the season. They played a below average schedule. They only managed 1 win by multiple possessions while nailing down 7 by 1 possession, 5 by 3 points or fewer, and 3 in overtime. But home field advantage and the occasional wizardry of Tim Tebow still added up to a playoff victory. With so much in common with the 2010 Seahawks, it's kinda not all that remarkable that their luck scores were tied. Oh, by the way, they also played the role of red carpet for the New England Patriots. 1 year after getting very unlucky, the 2008 Miami Dolphins are slotted in as the Super Bowl era's 14th luckiest team. They did finish 11-5 to sneak out the AFC East title on a tiebreaker, but outside of a solid defense, they didn't have too much else on offer. Despite getting to host a playoff game, Miami stayed with their 11 wins, lined up against their expected win total of 7.114. That gives them a luck score of 3.886. The Dolphins did manage a winning record in games decided by multiple possessions at 4-3, but were substantially better than that in their one-score tilts, going 7-2. And they did this against a non-threatening schedule, the 5th easiest in the entire league. Naturally, their offense was mostly a no-show in their playoff game, getting dragged 27-9 against the Baltimore Ravens, a 6th seed, but admittedly a very good 6th seed. It had been 8 seasons since Miami's last playoff victory. That number now stands at 24. After 11 straight 21st century teams, we go back to the old 1900s and to the same season we've already seen. At number 13 are the 1977 Chicago Bears. At 9 and 5, they tied the Minnesota Vikings atop the NFC Central, but they had to settle for the NFC's only wildcard spot. They didn't win that game, freezing their win total at 9. But up against a rather unsightly expected total of 5.062, their luck score rises to 3.938. This Bears team offers a rare twist, as they actually did better in their multiple possession games than they did in their one-score counterparts, going 5-2 and 4-3 respectively. Yet they only managed a +2 point differential, all while playing the league's easiest schedule by a fairly substantial margin. And it was the ease of that schedule that contributed the most to their standing on this countdown. They matched up with the extra tough Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs and went down in flames by a score of 37-7. The NFL's first season with a 16-game schedule provides us our number 12 team, the 1978 Houston Oilers. A 10-6 record in the same division as the revitalized Pittsburgh Steelers left Houston with a wildcard spot, becoming the AFC's first ever 5 seed. That didn't stop them from winning twice in the playoffs though, raising their win total to 12. With only 8.059 expected wins though, they sit with a luck score of 3.941. Only 3 of Houston's 16 regular season games were decided by multiple scores, and they lost all 3. It's from the other 13 games that they got all 10 of their victories, 5 at home and 5 away. Then they go on the road in both the wild card round and the division round and nabbed their first 2 wins of the seasons by more than 1 score. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers standing in the way in the AFC Championship game though, and it's here that the oil rig ran dry in a big 34-5 loss. Just missing out on the top 10, the 2004 Atlanta Falcons will instead settle for the number 11 spot. They won their first ever NFC South Division title at 11-5 and become the first team on the countdown to earn a bye in the playoffs without making it to the Super Bowl. They did win 1 playoff game though, getting themselves to 12 wins. They were only expecting 8.002 of those wins though, with their luck score just under 4 at 3.998. Indeed, Atlanta nabbed the number 2 seed in what was a cryptically bad NFC in 2004. Despite going 6 games over 500 against one of the league's easiest schedules, all they were able to muster up in point differential was a +3. They hammered the Rams at home in the divisional round. A nice result, sure, but nothing beyond comprehension. Going to Philly to play the conference's only competent team was a dead end though, doing well in a sense to only lose by 17 points. Top 10 time, and it's yet another late 70s NFC Central team. This time, it's the 1979 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After suffering through the first 3 seasons of the franchise's existence, Tampa rode the league's stingiest defense to a 10-6 record, a division title, and a playoff victory. Those 11 wins sit in stark contrast to their 6.854 expected wins though, giving them and us our first luck score over 4 at 4.146. The Bucs aren't too far away in profile from the 77 Bears, putting up equal records of 5-3 in both their one possession and their multiple possession games. Their plus 36 point differential isn't spectacular, but it isn't too bad either. It was their schedule, which wasn't just the easiest in the league that season. It was the 6th easiest during the entire Super Bowl era. Yet, they were only 21st out of 28 teams in scoring. That lack of scoring came to pass when they were shut out in the NFC title game, losing despite only giving up 9 points. At number 9 are the 1999 Tennessee Titans. 13-3 is a record most teams would definitely take, But with the 14-2 Jacksonville Jaguars in the same division, Tennessee had to settle for the AFC's top wildcard spot. They're the first team on the countdown to rack up 3 playoff victories, taking them all the way to 16 in total. Against an expected total of 11.802, their luck score rounds out at 4.198. This was certainly a memorable team, giving us 2 of the most iconic plays in NFL history in just one postseason, with the Music City Miracle and 1 yard short. They also have the unique distinction of giving one team 3 losses in a season, with those being their only losses of the season. That would be those same Jaguars, and despite playing them twice this year, the Titans could only muster the league's 4th easiest schedule. They only outscored that schedule by 68 points, aided by a 7-1 record in one-score games. Back to the late 70s we go, this time with a southeastern team from the NFC West. At number 8 we have the 1978 Atlanta Falcons. One season after fielding one of the Super Bowl era's greatest defenses, Atlanta backslid, yet still improved their record to 9-7 after 2 games were added to the regular season schedule. As the hosting wildcard team, they got a win to get to 10 on the year, much higher than their expected total of 5.77, giving them a luck score of 4.23. In 1977, the Falcons went 2-6 in one-score games and 5-1 in multiple-score games. They perfectly flipped the one-score mark to 6-2 and just about perfectly flipped the other mark to 3-5 when accounting for those 2 extra games. They were 3rd worst in the league at both scoring and at strength of schedule, earning their negative double-digit C score. Yet they showed out in the playoffs, beating the Eagles and taking a halftime lead against the Cowboys in Dallas before ultimately falling by the respectable final score of 27-20. Lucky number 7 on the countdown of lucky teams goes to the 2016 Miami Dolphins. They are below average in every item listed here, except for that above average record at 10-6. That was just good enough to land the AFC's number 6 seed and with it a trip to the playoffs. It wasn't a long stay for Miami though, staying with 10 wins, a number they ought to be thrilled with, giving their expected total of 5.744, giving them a luck score of 4.256. Most of those below average numbers were just below average, including their negative 17-point differential. But that strength of schedule, despite 2 matchups with the eventual Super Bowl champion New England Patriots, was 5th easiest in the league. And naturally they went 8-2 in games decided by 8 points or fewer, including 2 overtime victories, one at home against the dreadful Cleveland Browns. The playoffs were a wake-up call, easily going down to the Steelers by a final score of 30-12. And their head coach was Adam Gase. We just finished mentioning the Cleveland Browns. Well, here they are at number 6 with their team from the 2020 season. 11 is the number of the day with their 11-5 record and their negative 11-point differential. They were the 3rd of 3 playoff teams from the AFC North, and they actually took out the division champion Steelers in the playoffs, bumping their win total to 12. Lining that up with their expected total of 7.63 gives them a luck score of 4.37. Despite playing in a division that produced 2 other playoff teams, the Browns still found themselves playing the league's 3rd easiest schedule. They only managed 1 double-digit win all season while putting together an 8-2 record in one-score games. But that playoff game against the Steelers was something else, forcing 3 first-quarter turnovers on their way to a 28-0 first-quarter lead. They held on to a 48-37 victory, their first since 1994, and their first since their rebirth. They even gave the Chiefs a game the following week, but they could go no further. Now for the big guns. Coming in at number 5 are the 2003 Carolina Panthers. Division champions for only the second time in their 9-year history, they ended the year 11-5, earning the NFC's number 3 seed. From here, they went on a heater, making it to Super Bowl 38 and almost winning it, giving them 14 total wins on the season. Yet their expected win total slacks off at 9.485, giving them a luck score of 4.515. A plus 21 point differential, the league's second easiest schedule, and a 9-3 record in one-score games are all major contributing factors to this discrepancy for Carolina, but so too was their playoff run. They did handle Dallas in the wildcard round, but needed double overtime the following week against the Rams, and a truly inept offensive performance by the Eagles in the conference title game. But they kept winning before they got KC'd in the Super Bowl. After a 1-15 record just 2 seasons earlier, Panther fans will justifiably not care about any of this. We've seen 4 teams who lost in the Super Bowl. Now we have a team that won it. At number 4 are the 1970 Baltimore Colts, winners of the first post-merger championship. As NFL transplants in the newly created AFC, they went 11-2-1 to win the East. 3 playoff wins along with that tie pushed their win total to 14.5. But they stayed in the single digits as far as expected wins go at 9.612. That's good for a luck score of 4.888. This has been mentioned on the channel before, but that 25th ranking out of 26 in strength of schedule is deceptive. It may have only been the second easiest of 1970, but it was also the third easiest of the entire Super Bowl era, with many AFL teams struggling to transition after the merger. Their point differential of plus 87 shrinks in that context. They didn't lose a single game by a single possession. Even though they did win the Super Bowl, it was an absolute clunker of a game that half the league at the time surely felt they could have won as well. A prime candidate for the top spot, the 2022 Minnesota Vikings will instead have to settle for number 3. This will still be fresh in many people's minds, a 13-4 regular season record despite being outscored on the season. As NFC North champions, they hosted a playoff game, but they couldn't win it, sticking with those 13 wins. The expectation was that they would notch 7.947 wins, so their luck score now clears 5 at 5.053. These Vikings could score, and they played a middle-of-the-road kind of schedule. Their weakness was stopping other teams from scoring. That created excitement, of course, including Justin Jefferson's wonder catch against the Bills, and engineering the largest come-from-behind victory in NFL history over the Colts. But going 11-0 in one-score games, especially the manner in which they did so, was simply not sustainable. And that came to pass as soon as the playoffs started, where they hilariously lost to the Giants by a single possession. At number 2 are the 1998 Arizona Cardinals, stumbling their way through the season, yet finding their way to a 9-7 record despite saddling themselves with a negative 53-point differential. With the NFC's power concentrated among a handful of teams outside the NFC East, the Cardinals were able to snag second place in the division and a wildcard berth and a playoff game within the division, which they won. Those 10 total wins went above and beyond their expected total of 4.011, catapulting their luck score to 5.989. Here we have another case of a schedule not just being the easiest in the league, but doing so by a fairly wide margin. They beat 2 horrible teams at home for their only multiple possession wins of the season, while going 7-3 in one-score games, with all those wins by 3 points or fewer. Yet they went into Texas Stadium, where they lost 38-10 to open the season and beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. A fine accomplishment and a worthy upset, but not nearly enough to single-handedly wipe out everything that occurred before it. They went on to lose to the juggernaut Minnesota Vikings the following week. Longtime viewers of the channel might have known that this team would take the #1 spot, the 2012 Indianapolis Colts. Their 11-5 record got them second place in the AFC South and put them in the playoffs after the nightmare that was the 2011 season. They couldn't win a game, which is unsurprising, because their expected win total on the season was only 4.864, putting their luck score in a class of its own at 6.136. The 2012 Colts are a great story, not just because of their bounce back from 2011, but because of what they went through as a team regarding head coach Chuck Pagano's cancer diagnosis. We acknowledge and celebrate that. But the numbers care not. A negative point differential, the league's easiest schedule, and still needing to go 9-1 in one-score games, and a quick bounce out of the playoffs against the Baltimore Ravens. All things being equal, yeah, this team probably wins 5 games, but they weren't all equal, and that lands them claim to the luckiest team of the entire Super Bowl era. Thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. You are a real trooper. Please like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to ding that bell to be notified anytime we release something new. Let me know what you think about all of this. I'm sure there are other teams that will come to mind that you feel I have left out. Perhaps a team like the 2014 New England Patriots, who were basically gift-wrapped a Super Bowl championship. While that is certainly true, that was only one play, albeit a highly magnified one. Over the length of the entire season, though, they were still an excellent team. Might there be someone else you thought would rank here? Maybe there's a team that did make the list that you weren't expecting to see. Sound off on these topics or anything else you may have on your mind down in the comments section below. Thank you once again for taking some time to join us today, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.